So I identified in this problem both the leading coefficient and the constant. Remember, the constant we always do factors in the numerator, and in the denominator would be the leading coefficient. And so I didn't even take time to write them all down, 6 and 8 and 12 and right and 16. I didn't even take time to do all of that in 24 because I thought the very first thing that I'm going to do should be 6, 8. We got a 12 that fits in there, a 16 and 24 and 48. And I mean, the amount of possible rational roots would be great. So I just started by testing what I know I can test, which would be 1 and -1, 2 and -2, 3 and -3. And I found out that -2 is in fact going to be a solution to the system. So I have 5 real roots, I've been told, and one of them is -2. So I look at this, I know that since I have too many terms with this, that I'm not able to use factoring by grouping. Factoring by grouping is used when you only have 4. Remember, it doesn't always work. So with that, I thought, what am I going to do? So I set up again, and my goal then was to test, as I've tested 1 and -1, 2 and -2. I was going to continue to test 3s, positive negatives, 4s, 9s, and 18s. And I realized that none of those worked. So now it's time to start testing the fractions. So I'm going to try 1/2 and -1/2. That reduces to 1. Then 3 halves, and so on. So I'm going to set it up right now. I'm going to write in pencil here in case 1/2 doesn't work. Then I'll try -1/2, right? And then I'll move on to 3 halves and -3 halves, and so on. Okay, dropping down to 48. So 48 times 1/2 is like 1 times 48 divided by 2. The quick way is just take 48 and divide it by 2. So 48 divided by 2 is 24. Now I'm going to take 148, and I know they're opposite sides, so I'm going to subtract 24 to get a -120. Oops, -124, not -128. -124. Okay, -124 divided by 2 is going to give us a -62. And the difference here is going to be 90. It's a positive. Half of 90 is 45. Now the difference between 63 minus 45 is 18, and it's negative. And half of -18 is -9, and it works. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So I have another one I can come up here and identify. X equals positive 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to write this down now, and I have, so this is going to be 0 equals -18, 90x, -124x squared, and 48x to the third. Making sure that's 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's looking good. And I can see this is not going to be able to work with factoring by grouping. And why do I see that? Notice how if we think of this as what we can factor out, and yes, I can factor something out, but will this work? So I'm thinking right now that, give me 1 second to respond back to my husband, 1 second here. I'm going small to large, and then I'm going large to small. We can see that it's just not going to work by factoring by grouping. So I tried 1/2. I know the next one I should try, if 1/2, I should try -1/2. This reduces to 1, so I don't need to try 1. Then I'll try 3 halves after negative. Really lightly, in case -1/2 doesn't work, then I'm going to move on to 3 halves. Okay, so if I take 40 and divide it by -22, I get -24, combined to give a -148. Half of 148, I'm going to grab a calculator again so I can make it a little quicker for you and for I. Half of 148 is a 74. It is going to be positive because 2 negatives make a positive. This combines equal 164. Half of 164 is going to be 82, but remember it's going to be a -82, and these do not combine to give you 0. So I'm going to erase. Should have written even lighter, and I'm now going to try a positive 3 halves. Okay. Oh, do I wish I had a calculator on me right now. Okay, so how do we do this? I'm going to go 3 times 48 and then divide it by 2. So 48 times 3 divided by 2 is 72. Now 72, if I take 124, subtract 72 because they're different signs, I get a negative 52. I'm going to take 3 times 52 and then divide it by 2. 3 times 52 and then divided by 2. That's a negative 78. They combine to equal 12. 3 times 12 is 36. Divided by 2 is 18. Yes, got another one that works. So 3/2 is another solution. X equals 3/2. This is a grueling process, is another solution. Okay, down here I have 48 minus x squared minus 52x plus 12 equals 0. Now I recognize that I'm able to factor out a minimum of 2. Let's see, what else can I possibly factor out of here? Can I factor out, let's see, is 52? That doesn't work. I think I'm going to try factoring out a 4. I think they're all divisible by 4. So if I factor out a 4, I'd be left with, divided by 4 is 12x squared minus 13x plus 3 equals 0. Let's see if this is factorable. 12 times 3 is 36. Okay, two things that multiply to give us 36 combined to give us a negative 13 would be negative 9 and negative 4. Check to make sure that works. Because this leading coefficient is not a 1, it's a little more work. Now I would probably do bottoms up, but the class has decided months ago they prefer the AC plus B method. So in this space, I'm going to drop down a negative 9x and a negative 4x. What can I factor out? A 3x, and I'd be left with 4x minus 3. 4x minus 3. Minus 1 will give us negative 4x. Minus 1 will give us a positive 3. So the front and the back both contain 4x minus 3 and 3 minus 1. So I have two factors. I'm going to set each equal to 0 and solve. I end up with a positive 4/3 and a positive 1/3. So here are two solutions, 1/3 and 3/4, along with 3/2, 1/2, and negative 2.